Hold the ladder tight.
Okay, here's the tool.
Nice work. Now for the wall. That's it. It fits perfectly. Okay,
Okay, now I'll smooth this out.
good. We're making progress.
Hello everyone,
Almost there.
and welcome back to our channel. Today's story follows the quiet yet powerful journey of Tia Lak, a woman who endured countless hardships, and the CEO who chose to change her life, not with empty promises, but with real action. By building her a stone house, he gave her more than a place to live. He gave her safety, dignity, and the chance to heal. From uncertainty and pain to peace and hope, this story reminds us that true love is about understanding, patience, and creating a space where someone can finally breathe and belong. If you enjoyed this heartfelt story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more emotional, inspiring stories. Your support means everything to us. See you in the next video. After everything Tieu Lac had endured, the CEO finally understood one undeniable truth. What she needed most was not protection in words, nor promises whispered in passing, but a place she could truly call home. For years, her life had been a long road filled with hardship, uncertainty, and silent suffering. She had learned to be strong because she had no other choice, carrying her pain quietly while the world moved on around her. Watching her from a distance, he saw not just her resilience, but the exhaustion hidden beneath her calm exterior. And it was in that quiet realization that a decision began to take shape in his heart. Steady, unshakable, and rooted in genuine care. One late afternoon, as the sun dipped low behind the mountains, the CEO stood alone on a stretch of land overlooking a wide valley. The wind moved gently through the tall grass, carrying with it the scent of earth and stone. This place felt different, solid, grounded, untouched by the chaos of the city. As he surveyed the land, he imagined Tieu Lac standing here, breathing freely, no longer burdened by fear or uncertainty. It was then that he decided to build her a stone house, a home that would stand firm against time, just as she had stood firm against every storm life had thrown her way. He chose stone deliberately. Unlike glass or steel, stone carried a sense of permanence and strength. Each block symbolized endurance, stability, and protection, qualities he wanted her to feel every time she touched the walls or stepped through the doorway. This would not be a luxurious mansion designed to impress others, nor a cold modern structure detached from warmth. Instead, it would be a simple yet beautiful stone house, built with care, patience, and intention. To him, true comfort was not measured by extravagance, but by the feeling of safety and belonging it could offer. As plans began to take shape, the CEO involved himself in every detail. He consulted architects who understood natural materials, insisting that the house blend harmoniously with its surroundings. Wide windows would welcome sunlight into every corner, while thick stone walls would provide shelter and quiet. A small fireplace would become the heart of the home, offering warmth on cold nights, and a modest garden would surround the house, giving Tieu Lac a place to reconnect with life's simplest joys. Every decision reflected a single thought. She deserved a life that was gentle, steady, and free from fear. For the CEO, this house was more than a construction project. It was a silent promise. A promise that she would never again have to wonder where she belonged. A promise that no matter how difficult the past had been, her future could be different. He did not announce his intentions loudly, nor did he seek recognition for what he was doing. His care revealed itself through action, through the countless hours spent ensuring that every stone was laid with precision and respect. As workers began to prepare the foundation, the CEO often returned to the site alone. He would stand quietly, imagining Tieu Lac's future here, the sound of her footsteps on the stone floor, the soft glow of lamplight in the evening, the peaceful mornings where she could wake without anxiety. In those moments, he realized that building this house was also changing him. It softened the sharp edges of his own life, reminding him that success meant little if it could not be shared with someone he cared about. This stone house was meant to erase Tieu Lak's past, but to honor her strength in surviving it. It was a fresh beginning, built on solid ground, a place where her heart could finally rest. And long before the walls were complete, the CEO knew one thing with certainty. This home would become the symbol of a new life, one defined not by hardship, but by peace, dignity, and hope. The day the stone house was finally completed, Tia Lak arrived just as the morning mist was lifting from the valley. The air was cool and fresh, carrying the quiet promise of a new beginning. She stood at a distance for a long moment, her heart beating faster as she took in the sight before her. The house rose gently from the land, its stone walls warm in color, solid yet welcoming. It did not feel overwhelming or distant. Instead, it felt as though it had always belonged there, waiting patiently for her to arrive. As she stepped closer, her fingers brushed against the stone surface, cool beneath her touch. A strange wave of emotion washed over her, one she was not prepared for. For so long, her life had been defined by temporary places and uncertain tomorrows. She had learned not to get attached, not to hope too much, because hope had often led to disappointment. Yet standing in front of this house, she felt something unfamiliar but deeply comforting: certainty. This place was real. It was meant for her. Inside, sunlight streamed through wide windows, filling the rooms with a gentle glow. The space was simple, but every detail spoke of care and intention. The stone floors were smooth beneath her feet, grounding her with every step. The kitchen, modest and bright, carried the warmth of imagined mornings, quiet breakfasts, the sound of boiling water, the comfort of routine. In the living area, a small fireplace stood ready, promising warmth during cold nights and moments of reflection. Nothing felt excessive, yet nothing felt lacking. Tia Lak moved slowly from room to room, as if afraid the moment might disappear if she rushed. When she reached the bedroom, her breath caught slightly. The window looked out onto the garden, where young plants had already been set into the soil. She imagined waking up to sunlight filtering through leaves, to birdsong instead of worry. For the first time in years, the idea of rest felt real. This was not just a place to sleep, it was a place where her heart could finally relax. Over the following days, the house began to transform as Tia Lak made it her own. She arranged small personal items on shelves, placed simple flowers by the window, and carefully folded her clothes into drawers that no longer needed to be packed again. Each small action carried a quiet sense of joy. These were ordinary moments, yet to her, they felt extraordinary. Stability, she realized, was a luxury she had never truly known. Her daily life slowly settled into a peaceful rhythm. Mornings began with soft light and fresh air, afternoons with gentle work in the garden, and evenings with the calm embrace of silence. The weight she had carried for so long began to lift, piece by piece. Without constant fear pressing on her thoughts, she found herself smiling more easily, breathing more deeply. The past still existed, but it no longer controlled her every step. The stone house did more than shelter her body, it protected her spirit. Within its walls, Tia Lak allowed herself to reflect on everything she had endured. There were moments when memories surfaced, sharp and painful, but now she faced them from a place of safety. Instead of breaking her, those memories slowly became reminders of how far she had come. Healing did not happen overnight, but here it felt possible. Sometimes, in the quiet evenings, she would sit by the window and think of the CEO. She understood that this home was not merely a gift, it was an act of understanding, a recognition of her worth. He had not tried to erase her past or define her future for her. Instead, he had given her the space to rebuild on her own terms. That realization filled her with gratitude deeper than words. As days turned into weeks, Tia Lak began to rediscover herself. She laughed more freely, dreamed without fear, and allowed herself to believe that happiness was not something temporary. The stone house stood as a silent witness to her transformation, a place where pain softened into strength, and where a life once shaped by hardship slowly bloomed into peace. One quiet evening, as the sun slowly disappeared behind the hills, a warm golden light spilled from the windows of the stone house, casting long shadows across the garden. The air was calm, filled with the gentle sounds of nature settling into night. Tia Lak stood near the doorway, watching the sky change colors, feeling a peace she had never known before. It was in this stillness that the CEO arrived, his footsteps unhurried, his presence carrying a familiar sense of reassurance. They sat together on the stone steps outside the house, neither rushing to speak. The silence between them was not awkward, it was comfortable, filled with shared understanding. Finally, Tia Lak turned to him, her eyes reflecting both gratitude and emotion. Her voice trembled slightly as she began to speak, not because she was weak, but because the weight of her feelings was finally finding release. She thanked him, not only for the house, but for everything it represented. She spoke of the fear she had once lived with, the nights she had spent wondering where she would end up, and the loneliness that had followed her for so long. With quiet honesty, she told him that this home had given her more than shelter. It had given her dignity. It had given her the courage to believe that her life could be better, that she herself was worthy of care and happiness. As she spoke, the CEO listened intently, his gaze steady and sincere. He did not interrupt or diminish her feelings. When she finished, he took a deep breath, choosing his words carefully. He told her that he had never seen her as someone to be rescued, but as someone who deserved stability and respect. Building the stone house, he explained, was not about changing her, but about supporting her, about giving her a foundation strong enough to stand on while she shaped her own future. He admitted that in the process of helping her, he had discovered something unexpected within himself. For all his success and control, he had been missing something essential: connection. Seeing Tia Lak find peace reminded him that true fulfillment came not from power or achievement, but from shared moments and genuine care. In helping her rebuild, he too had learned how to slow down, to listen, and to value what truly mattered. The night grew deeper as they continued to talk, their conversation flowing naturally, without masks or guarded words. For the first time, Tia Lak felt safe enough to open her heart completely. She spoke of her hopes, not grand ambitions, but simple dreams of living quietly, of finding joy in ordinary days, of loving without fear. The CEO smiled softly, recognizing the beauty in those dreams. When he reached for her hand, it was gentle and unforced. She did not pull away. Instead, she felt a calm warmth spread through her, a reassurance that she was no longer alone. This was not a dramatic declaration of love, but something far more powerful, a mutual understanding built on trust and respect. In that moment, both of them knew that whatever the future held, they would face it together. Before he left, Tia Lak looked once more at the stone house, now glowing softly in the night. She realized that happiness did not arrive loudly or all at once. It came quietly, built piece by piece, through kindness, patience, and shared effort. Turning back to him, she thanked him again, this time with a smile that carried peace instead of tears. As the CEO walked away, he paused and glanced back at the house and the woman standing in its doorway. He knew that this was only the beginning, not of a perfect life, but a real one. A life where love was not about possession or control, but about creating space for someone else to grow. And under the quiet sky, the stone house stood as a lasting symbol of that promise. a promise of stability, healing, and a future shaped by hope.
Hello, xin chào tất cả các khán giả của kênh Lý Tiểu Lạc Review. Vậy là câu chuyện hôm nay của chúng ta đã kết thúc tại đây. Nội dung câu chuyện hôm nay của chúng ta, tác giả đã làm về việc kể về nội dung vị CEO đã cùng với Lý Tiểu Lạc hoàn thiện một căn nhà ước mơ. Đó chính là căn nhà mà vị CEO tặng cho Tiểu Lạc. Khi Tiểu Lạc quay trở về nông trại của vị CEO đã đề nghị là sẽ tặng cô một căn nhà làm bằng những viên đá rất là đặc biệt do chính tay CEO thiết kế và do chính tay CEO xây dựng. Tiểu Lạc thì cảm thấy rất là hạnh phúc bởi vì đây là lần đầu tiên cô được sở hữu một tài sản lớn như thế, đó là một căn nhà mà lại là căn nhà của riêng mình. Tiểu Lạc rất là xúc động và cảm ơn CEO không ngừng. Vị CEO và Tiểu Lạc hai người ngay lập tức bắt tay vào việc xây dựng căn nhà bằng đá này cho Tiểu Lạc. Mọi tình tiết hấp dẫn về quá trình xây nhà của Tiểu Lạc cũng như của vị CEO sẽ còn được kể ở các video tiếp theo. Các bạn đừng quên bấm vào nút subscribe để đăng ký kênh, sẽ nhận được thông báo mới nhất về các câu chuyện về Tiểu Lạc và CEO sẽ được phát sóng hàng ngày trên kênh Lý Tiểu Lạc Review nha. Tiểu Lạc and CEO, thank you so much. Please continue support Tiểu Lạc and CEO, Lý Tiểu Lạc Review. Bye bye and see you soon everyone.